Let's begin. You can see the file that we'll be working on. We are working in Office 365, and today I'll show you some weird combination and weird functionalities, how you can play with dates and especially with one functions and the all options that what it can give you and what you can do with it. We want to calculate time in Excel. So our goal will be to create thing that will look in the end like this. We want to know how many years and how many months, days, I will say participants, our 3 different persons are on our planet, how old they are in years, months, or days, and then calculate it how many hours they are on our planet, minutes and seconds. So we'll be mostly working with the dative function, but before that we want to just talk a little bit about dates in Excel, about time in Excel. So it is very weird and complicated system with days and months and years in Excel. If you think about when you are counting a normal a decimal, you count to 10, then you add another 10, and then when you have 10 of them you add another 100, and then when you have 10 hundreds you have 1,000. With days and months it's more complicated, because we have the 31 days in January, then we have the February that has 28 days, and then we have a March that has again 31 days, and then it's so on and so on. And we need to also remember that there is this leap year that we'll need to add 1 additional day in the February month. So all this ideology and all this idea of counting days and months is put it inside the Excel, and the Excel is counting. And the key to it is that if you put a date in Excel, so I put today's date, 25th of June 2020. If you put today's date, then you basically are putting a number, because if you change the date to a general format or a number format, you'll see a number 44,007, because this is amount of days that went from the first date of Excel. So if today is 44,007, if we change it to 44,008, then we'll have tomorrow, and we change it back to the date, and this is tomorrow. So if you have any dates in Excel, you have really numbers, and then you can do a lot of things with that. I said that we can think about the first date. So if we put number 1 in Excel and then change it to date format, this cell C3 that we are working it is already in the date format. So I put it a 1 and then a presenter, and then we have it. This is the first date in Excel, the 1st of January 1900. This is the first date in Excel. If you put 15, it will be the 15th of January. And if so on, we'll put more numbers like 3,500. We'll have a particular date. This number represents how many days passed from the first date in Excel. So if we put today's date, 25th, we'll see the date, but in reality, under it, we have the 44,007. So, for example, if we'll change it to like 44,057, we'll have a date 50 days from now. Of course, if we change it to a date format. let's go with the short date. So 50 days from now will be this date. So if we now know that every date in Excel is a number, we can count. And for example, if we put today's date, as I said, and then we'll put the date of the birth of a particular gentleman, 3rd of March 1986, then in reality we have two dates. Then we have two dates, but in reality inside, under it, there are numbers. So if there are numbers, we can subtract. So if we subtract from the today's date, the date of birth, we'll have the result of how many days there is between these two dates. And this is one of the targets that we want to acquire in our goal today. So we want to know how many days this particular gentleman will have on on our planet, how many days he is old, how it's hard to say it, how many days he is on this planet, or how many days a project is going on. So if we want to know how many days a server is running, so if we have the start date, and for example, let's assume that we start a server on the first day of this year. So it was the 1st of January 2020, and we want to calculate how many days the server is already running. So if we subtract from the end date the beginning date, we'll have the result. The problem with this subtraction that we are currently creating is that Excel is automatically realizing that you are subtracting the dates, and he will force, fortunate he didn't, sometimes he's forcing, and you'll receive a result like this. That means that he is trying to show it, the result of the subtraction, as a date format. We need to then change it to the general, and then we have the result. So if we have the server start date and the current date, then we have the result of the uptime, so how long the server is going. The problem is, if we want to now calculate months, for example, how many months there is between these two dates or these two dates. In this situation, we cannot just subtract it, because there are numbers and they are representing the days. We cannot divide it, because there was some suggestion that we can divide 176 by 30, but we need to remember that some months have 28, 29, 30, 31 days. It of course depends of the particular month, and in case of February, even particular year, is it a leap year or not. So then you can do it with a hidden function. Hidden function that will tell you how many months there is between two dates. This hidden function is called dateDiff, and you need to exactly know how this function is created. So we'll create a short text box, and we'll make here a note with a little bigger font. So the function goes as follows. It's dateDiff, and when you start to type the date, you'll see that Excel is suggesting you the date value, and edate function, and dateDiff is not suggested, and there is no such function. But if you type dateDiff with one F, then there will be a small box suggesting, okay, you know about the hidden function, so I will not tell you how it's constructed, how many arguments it has, and what kind of arguments. If you know about it, then you will know the construction of the function. So we'll make a quick note here. So it's dateDiff. dateDiff function, it contains always with different um, three different arguments. Is the first argument that will be the start date. The second argument is the end date. And the third argument represents the information how the function will work. So we can put here, in our case, because we want to calculate months, we can put here the m that represents calculate months, and we'll do it like now. We'll do it right now, and then I'll talk about the other possibilities with the third argument, because if we change it, then the function will work in a different way. So we want to calculate months. So date diff. Again, if I start typing it, Excel is not suggesting it. It's not telling me I cannot use the tab functionality to use as with other functions. But when I just open the bracket, it will show me, okay, there is that kind of function, you know about it, so you'll know how to work with it. So the first option is the start date, so we'll select the start date of our server. The second argument is the end date. That will be our current date, because we want to calculate until now. And as a third argument, we'll use m. And the size of the letter doesn't matter. It can be a capital M or a lower m. It doesn't matter. It will know it. He'll now just recognize the m. And that's the answer. And that's true. Our server is currently running. We're in 5 full months. So the other possibilities of this function is the argument with y. So y representing the years. That will calculate years. So we'll calculate it for our server. Of course, we'll end up in the result with the number 0, because our server is running from the 1st of January 2020, but we'll calculate it, because then we can change it. So it will be date diff, start date, end date, and of course years. And then we have information that the server is running for 0 years, 0 number of years. But if we'll change it the server start date, and let's just assume that the server start of 1st of January 2017, of course all the functions will calculate again, and we'll have the information that uptime of the server in days, that will be better, is 1271, uptime in months is 41 months, and uptime in years is 3 years, because of course this function calculates it with the full years. The third possibility of this argument, the argument number 3 in the date function, is the letter D, and that will calculate you days. So theoretically we don't need it, because we already did it. We calculated with just simple subtraction. When we subtract from the server start the current date, we remember that the dates are in the reality the numbers, so we can just subtract them. And if we subtract them, then we calculate the number of days. But this function, the days also is possible to calculate it via the date function. So we'll create it again, the server start date and server current date and the D. It calculates the same information, but we need to remember that we can do it without the D. And then we can just do it with the subtraction. But we can also add some more combination of m, y, and d as the third argument in the hidden date function, and then the function creates some weird calculations. And it's hard to imagine y and how to use them in I would say business solutions, but there are some situations when you can use it, so let's talk about it. We can have the ym, and it will let's start with y. Well, let's start with ym, and we'll calculate months after last anniversary. So let's calculate it. So it will be data diff. The start date will be again server start date. The end date will be the current date, and the third argument will be ym. Of course, if you have any questions, you can write them in the Zoom chat. So ym, and we have the information that the server is months after anniversary. So the server is currently running in this year for 5 months. No, it's running for after the first anniversary, because the server starts on the 1st of January 2017. And I think it's nice to calculate the same for our gentleman that we calculated in the beginning. So let's put his birthday here, and let's calculate everything for this particular situation, because it will be also nice to analyze. So we have the situation, and he will be the server, and he will be our gentleman. So the gentleman is born on the 3rd of March 1986, and he's currently on our planet for 411 months. We can say that he is 411 months old. And of course he's 34 years old, and he's already here for 12,533 days. And this information that it's 3 months after anniversary, okay, it's theoretically useful that he's already 3 days it's 3 months after his last anniversary. The last combination is not the last, it's yd, and it will calculate you days after last anniversary. So it will be days after anniversary. So it will be date diff, server start, server current date, and yd. Yd, it's supposed to be yd. So 175 days ago there was an anniversary, so the server is running for 3 years and 175 days. The last combination of this function is the md functionality, and it will calculate you days after last monthly anniversary. And this is also weird functionality, and weird to find really like business solution, business situation, when you want to know the information how many days there was after monthly anniversary. But of course, we'll find situation when we will need it. It's data diff again. The server start is our beginning date, the server and the current date is our current date, and of course we need to put the MD. So it was 24 days ago that when there was the last anniversary of our server, and the really one situation when I think I can when I can find a situation when I will need it. If I will now highlight our cells and let's make them green. So if we check the green cells, we now know some information about our employee, and this is how sometimes when you want to know it, like our employee is has 3 years of experience, 5 months of experience, and 24 days. These three cells give you information exactly how old is our employee, how much years of experience, the full years of experience he has, and how much full months of experience he has after last anniversary. So it's 3 years and 5 months. And sometimes you want to know about it, how long the project is running. It's 3 years, 5 months, and 24 days. This is the exact number. And our gentleman is 34 years old, 3 months, and 22 days. We need to change just one thing to go to our final result. In all our situation, when we were using the end date, the second argument, I was using the date that was put it here in this C7 cell. The problem with this cell is that I put it here manually, the date 25th, and this date will not change. So if we want to change it, we need to change it manually, or we can change it to very nice function that is today. Function today is one of my favorite functions because its construction is very simple. You don't put anything inside it, you don't put any arguments inside it, you just open bracket and close the bracket. And today function will show you today's date. It will take it from the clock of your computer, from the system. So if your system is up to date, then if we open this document, you will every day have the exact date. And then we have it. We have all the things that we need. If we go back to our dates, we'll have this all information here. We have this free situation when we calculated information about Andy, the dad, Adam, his son, and Ivona, his wife, and we're using all the functions that we learned today. In the first situation, we are using the data diff function that calculates the information from the birth of the father. This time, the today function is built inside the date function. Then we have the same option for the months. Then we have the same for the days. Then we calculate it with the numbers again, with the subtraction. From today, we subtract the day of birth, the start of the server, the start of the project, the start of the hire date of the employee, where the thing starts that we want to calculate. And then it's just some mathematical functions. When we multiply the number of days by 24, then in the 7th row we'll know how many hours, because if we multiply the number of days by 24, we get the information of how many hours this particular person is old, how old is he in the matter of hours. Then we multiply it by 60 to get the information on how many minutes, and then we multiply it by 60 with the information how many seconds this person is on our planet. And we do the same with this three particular with these two particular other cases. Here you have the particular functions that we have it, and on the bottom, the last thing, we'll have some fun with Excel. In the A12 cell, we make some weird calculations because we are wondering when this particular person will have his 13,000 days anniversary. It's nice to know when you will have 13,000 days. If we add to today's date the result of the subtraction from 13,000 minus B5, so it's 467 days left. We add it to today's date, and we have the information that this particular person will have his 13,000th anniversary on the 5th of December 2021. That calls for a party. Then we calculate when we'll have 100 days about Adam, our son, and it will be on the 2/9/2020. Then we calculated when there will be 1,000 hours for our son, and then last thing we are using the functionality of custom formats of days to show days exactly what was the day of the birth of mom, dad, and son. Of course, all the files that you will see on our webpage, the excelwebinar.com. On this webpage, you'll find all the files, previous webinars, and information about a new one. And that's it for today. I hope you enjoy it, and our calculations will be useful in our work. Thank you very much.